Next up, we're going to take a look at align content. I know there's been quite a few terms to get our head around here, but you can think of align content as similar to justify content, which we've already used. But this time it applies to the cross axis rather than the main axis. For this, we need a few more rows of content. So let's remove these styles which were added in last time. So the first one, the horizontal line, these two lines here, and then the final two style attributes. Okay, so remove that. And then I'm going to copy these 6 items once more and then paste them in. In fact, we'll paste these in 2 more times to give us 18 different items. Save that and then refresh. Good, so we now have about 3 lines of content to work with if we were to shrink the browser down a little. It would also help for this demo if we set a background color to the container and also set it to be the full height of the screen. So within this container, let's add some CSS. So first of all, the background, and I'm going to go for light green. And then set the height to be full screen with 100 VH. Remember, VH is a relative size, which sets us to be 100% of the viewport height. Okay. And then finally, let's remove this align items and justify content from previous videos. And I'm just going to comment these out so they're still there. And then refresh. Okay, so now we can get to work on align content. Remember, we're still working on the cross axis, so all this will be applying from top to bottom. Just like align items, which we looked at before, stretch is also the default for align content too. This is why all of our items are taking up the full height of the viewport. We also have a familiar flex start too, and also flex end. So let's see how these look in align content. So flex start to begin with, and then refresh. So now we don't have the default stretch value, and all the items are at the start of the cross axis, which is the top of the page. As you probably imagine, flex end pushes this to the bottom of the page and then rises up to the top. So let's just demonstrate this with flex end, refresh, and now everything is down at the bottom of the cross axis. We also have center to, which will push everything to the middle of the height, or the middle of the cross axis in this case. You should be starting to see a pattern here too. Most of the properties we looked at are pretty much the same, but just applied to a different axis. Just like justify content, there is also space between and space around too. Let's start with space between. So this applies all the spacing between the items. Like we just mentioned, we also have space around, and this will give us equal space around all the items. So from top to bottom, half of the space is on top of the item, and the other half is below the item. This gives us the effect of having twice the amount of space in between each item. If we change the main axis this time to be column, and then refresh the browser. Okay, so now column sets the main axis to be vertical. This means that horizontal is now the cross axis, and this causes align content to now apply across the page, since this is now the cross axis. So let's go ahead and change it back to row, and then reload the browser. So this is one of those things which just needs a bit of practice to get our head around, and once we start using it inside of our CSS more regularly, things will become a lot easier. This is it for now for spacing out the items, and I will see you in the next video.